Hello, everyone. I am back again to a day today with the We Build Boldly conversations. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. We are really excited to have you on here today with us. Um, these conversations are hosting because we are celebrating Build Boldly Turning One, my book that I wrote last year. I have been interviewing influential and impactful leaders from all different sectors, CEOs, CFOs, high execs, entrepreneurs, because I think you all have incredible things to share with us all, and there's opportunity always to learn from each other. That's how we grow. I have a special guest with me here today, Shannon Nash. Hi, Shannon. So nice to see you. Thank you for making the time
You too.
out. Shannon is the CFO of Wing. She will give us her elevator pitch before we go into the topic of today, which is how to be a bold leader. That's one of the chapters in the book. So, Shannon, thank you so much. Please tell us about yourself, your elevator pitch.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Glad that you were doing these type of things. I think it's always important that we lift each other as we climb. We continue to share our stories and our journeys. And so I'm a big proponent of doing that. As you mentioned, I'm the CFO of Wing. Wing is a drone delivery company. We are a subsidiary of Alphabet, Google. We have been doing drone delivery for several years. We operate in three continents in the United States. We're in the Dallas, Frisco, Fort Worth kind of area, in Virginia, a place called Virginia, or called Christiansburg. We're also in Australia and in Finland, and really, it's just been a really exciting time to, really hone in on that last mile delivery market, using a drone. We've done over 250,000 flights, and it's an exciting time for me to be joining the company as we scale to get to like kind of that next level of drone delivery. So that's what I'm doing at Wing. I've prior to that, I was CFO of a company called Reputation.com. Had a various number of kind of finance roles along the way in my journey. But I started my career doing something totally different. I was an attorney. I was practicing doing tax and corporate M&A, just transactional type of work. So I have had two different career tracks that I'm happy to talk about them, but I think that they've helped me get to where I am today.
Yes, I am incredibly fascinated with your journey and the way your path has unfolded. So I do want you to just spend a little bit of time, right, talking about, and maybe we're taking this now to you want to be a lawyer. You start this amazing career as a lawyer, and then clearly something happened that caused this pivot into finance. I'm very curious how that happened.
So I was a CPA when I went to law school. So finance was something I was always interested in. If that,
Yeah.
that was my undergrad major. But as a little kid, I wanted to go to law school. My father was a lawyer. I used to go to his law school classes when he was in law school at Howard. And so it was kind of like you grow up and you become a lawyer type of thing. And
Yeah.
so I knew I wanted to do that, but I couldn't quite figure out what would be the place for me. And I remember it being in law school where all my friends were like excited about moot court and excited about all these other type of things in law that I was just not excited about at all. And luckily found a professor there who says, you with your background, you can do tax, you can do corporate M&A work, like you'll be really valuable because you understand finance. That was the first
Yeah.
time somebody had really explained to me the value of having a finance background.
Mhm.
And so along the way, started practicing at law firms, had some really great experiences there. And then eventually I went in-house to a company. The company is called Amgen. It's a biotechnology company. And then just got exposed to like corporate finance and how
Mhm.
that works. And so that was kind of like the click for me is once I went in-house, that was the click that kind of made me decide that I would probably want to have my career more on the CFO route and less on the general counsel side. But hey, I mean, I love my general counsel. I love my general counsel at all of my companies. I like to say that I play general counsel on TV and that's it.
Ah, oh my God, that is amazing. And also, I think from the financial standpoint, even when you're reviewing all, the documents, ain't nobody is going to be able to get away with anything just because of that law degree, right? You will find whatever, whatever loophole, or what if someone is trying to get something over your head, there's no way they're going to be able to get it just because of that experience. I love it so much. I think I write about this a bit in the book, right? Like we graduate college, we study one thing and we think we just have to be on that track. Whereas if we
Yeah.
actually are open, open to new opportunities that may come our way, or like you said, somebody gave you an advice or showed you
Yeah.
something that maybe you weren't even thinking about, that just created this new lane for you to have such a rich career.
Yeah. I think that a couple things. I consider myself to always be a lifelong learner. So I'm always learning. Secondly, you have to be open. A mentor of mine said this the other day. You have to be open to taking the advice and taking the guidance. And I consider myself to be somebody who's done that a lot in my career. And that's helped me a lot as well. So when I would go to my personal board of advisors, and that's people who I call for all kinds of advice. It doesn't just mean it's somebody that I report to. In
Mhm.
fact, two of the mentors that have done, I think, a lot for my career, one I did work for, but the other I've never worked for. We've never worked in the same company at all. Um, but I amassed those type of people kind of around for my kind of personal, like, sounding boards on career advice or opportunities I should take or things I should grow. Like, what am I missing in my toolkit that I need to grow in? And so sometimes those people are my colleagues. Sometimes those people are people who report to me. Sometimes they're just people I know professionally through organizations like Cal CPA, and they're not, and levels don't even matter. If you're somebody who, I remember the first person that I talked to years ago about, getting more adept into cybersecurity and why like accountants should do that. And this person was maybe like 5, 6 years out of school, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm studying with the AICPA to get more certifications in cybersecurity." Ah, good
Mhm.
idea. I think I'm going to take that class with you. You never know where you're going to get your personal advisors from. You just need to be open to doing it.
100% agree. I 100% agree. There's so much that you could learn from your peers. Like you said, even folks coming fresh out of school, like you said, just have to be open. So I love that. Okay, so again, the topic that we're covering is around this, the idea of being a bold leader. And in the
Okay.
book, I talk about defining what leadership means to each individual leader, rather than being this leader you think people want you to be, or leader you should be. How would
Yeah.
you define your vision for your style of leadership? Like, what kind of leader would you consider yourself, and then how do you then implement that within your organization, within your team, so that they really connect with you?
So leadership is one of those things that I strongly believed is not learned. I mean, is not innate. It's learned, is what I mean. And that learning is ongoing, especially somebody like me who I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. Um, Leadership ultimately is about, are you getting the best out of the people slash person that you are interacting with? And what leadership skill works for one person or one group may not work at all for the next group. So, a couple of things in the toolkit that I think have been helpful. There's various ways to get personanalysis tests done. I mean, the old school way is Myers Briggs, but there's lots of them, and I've done a lot of them. I found those to be helpful tools because in the beginning, especially with new teams, they help me to understand like innately what motivates people. And then it helps me to think about what motivates me, right?
Mhm.
And to see like where do those things line up and where do they not line up. So the style that you use for one person, you may have somebody on your team who is super analytical and not really good with some of the soft skills or not really good with um, kind of thinking off the top of their head. They need a lot of time to really be well reasoned in their approach. when you lead that person, you have to do it in a totally different way. You have to build
Mhm.
in more touch points, maybe
Mhm.
more 15-minute touch points throughout the week to see how they're progressing on what you're asking them to do. Versus somebody who is maybe less analytical, very good at some of the soft skills, but I need them to go deeper in like their opinion because they just give you answers off the top of their head that sometimes aren't as well reasoned, as well
Yes.
thought out. With that type of person, you almost have to say, I'm going to give you these 3 days, and this is what I'm expecting to be written out because I know you want to just jump and get to the answer. But here's the format. I've done this with people. Here's the format that I would like to see so I can have that forcing function to get them to be more analytical. And so much of this, quite frankly, had I like when you go back to yourself sitting in like, an accounting class, and it just comes to mind because I had the joy of going back to my alma mater and teaching a class, which is like a dream come true.
Incredible.
Um, but when I go back to like that kid sitting in that class, one of the kids asked me, what surprises you as being a CFO? And I said, how much a part of this job is about people, relationships, and psychology?
Yep.
It's so much more of the job is about that than it is about actually the right answer or analytical skills than I would have assumed as a student looking into the future.
Oh my goodness, that is powerful. When you were speaking, the word that just kept coming back into my mind is more around servant leadership, right? Really
Yeah.
not necessarily thinking just about yourself, but like how best can I serve the folks who are working with me on my team based on how they receive based on how they receive things or based on their personality. So I actually love it. It's such a light bulb moment for me. I'm learning right now. I like how you succinctly defined it. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we're
And
going to
I,
go. Uh-huh.
I'm moving a bit because the sun in this room just won't let me be great.
No, no,
Keeps hitting me
you,
in the face.
yes, yes, it looks good. You look good. Okay, so then also as a leader, right? I think it's important to always be yourself. I mean, like that's the B in the bold framework that I share in the book, because it gives space for others to really show up as their authentic selves, right?
Yeah.
Within your teams, right? And along with your various leadership positions, you're very much like me. You're into fitness. You're a film producer. You're a lawyer. Like you're multifaceted, right? So does having such a diverse work background, how does it influence your leadership, and how does that um, allow the people within your group, within your team, within your organization show up as themselves?
Yeah. So again, I think that I am when I approach new things, I at heart I am an operator. So I like to understand how it works. So the so for me, the fitness instructing and the Zumba, the UGM fitness started personally just because I was working out and had an injury and I couldn't do some of the things I was doing. And my physical therapist was like, you should try Zumba because even though your arm is in a sling, you can do everything else. And
Mhm.
so it started with my personal journey. And then the operator in me was like, oh, I want to understand how this works. I want more of this. The only way to get more of this is if you actually become an instructor, then you can get all the tapes. At the time, they
Mhm.
were like, they were using the tapes. Now you can get them online. And so that was the motivation. But then once I got so much more out of it personally in terms of, to your point, the leadership part, I didn't go into it thinking that's what I was going to get out of it. But I got so much of that out of being an instructor because when you go to a class, especially a fitness class, that is like group instruction, you have about 3 or 4 types of people that come to that class. Just kind of like the people that come to work. You have
Yep.
those people who are in the front of the class who want to be the instructor themselves. And they go like completely high level. They make up their own moves practically. They do their own thing, but like
Mhm.
they're
Yep.
really good at it. You
Yep.
have the people in the middle who are like, I kind of want to be in the front row. I think I'm kind of good enough, but I'm not sure. I just need a
Mhm.
little encouragement. if I had just gotten to the class a little earlier, maybe I could have been in the front row too, that type of thing. Then you have like that third and fourth row. They're like, I'm just going to sit here and hide in the back. Like, I really do want to learn. I'm having fun, but I'm not sure that I'm good enough or I'm smart enough or whatever the case. And as the instructor, the leader of the class, your job is to make everybody in that room feel equal and everybody in that room to feel important. So you have little tricks, like you do things like you make the lines in the class move. I want everybody from the back row to come to the front and the front to go to the back. Let's switch it up. Woo! You do things like, let's get in a circle. So we're all looking at each other and not just looking at so you can bring out the people who need to be brought out. But at the other time, sometimes you use the people in the front row, like, if you can't see me, follow Jane because she knows the routine. So you use them to be like, train the trainer and teachers and things of that nature. So many leadership skills from that bleed into like my day-to-day leadership. And I didn't go into it expecting that would happen.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it is also like having that self-awareness, right? Being aware, like you said, not necessarily going into there looking for, I'm going to take things from here to apply to work, but you are able to
Yeah.
see the correlation, right? So we as leaders have to sort of like be open to learning opportunities coming from various places. As you were sharing that example, so one of the things that I used to do very early on in my career, I crocheted, right? So I used to crochet and knit hats that I would donate to NICUs,
Right.
children living with cancer. And crocheting taught me so many things about problem solving, right? It is one step
Yes.
at a time. You
Yes.
keep doing
Yes.
things one at a time, and then by the time
Yes.
you look back, you've accomplished so much, or you've made this
Right.
beautiful thing, or you make a mistake, but you can go back and fix it, right? So I like that you brought, the things, or you gave us practical examples of things that the Zumba class showed you that you could then take and apply to work. So I that is my lifestyle, or the way that I live. Like, I'm always looking for ways to learn. I learn from my children. I learn from
Yeah.
how
Oh,
I
wow.
Yes, I learn from
That's
them.
a whole
That's a
interview. That's a
whole no-
whole thing.
that's a whole different conversation. Okay,
Right.
so the third question I have is around, clearly both of us are Black women in C-suite positions. You are at a very, very prestigious organization, and sometimes I feel like there is some onus on us when we make it to this position. So really quickly, I'm CFO in an architecture and interior design firm, which is highly old white male, right, in leadership positions. So I feel like there's some onus on us for other underrepresented groups to see people like us in positions, because then they can almost say, oh my goodness, if these two ladies and everybody else that they see are in these positions, maybe it's possible for me to get to that path. What can we do, outside of being visible? What are some practical things that we can do to keep making ways, creating opportunities, creating access for women or men to move
Yeah.
into positions of leadership? I also want to highlight the work that you're doing with, Black women on boards. Like, that is incredible. So if you could speak around some things that we can do.
I mean, I think that's just it. I feel too, who much is given, much is expected. And so I had somebody say to me, well, it's not, how did they say it? They basically made it seem like it's a burden, if you will, to have to be the only one and to have to be the one that represents. And I said, here's the reality. I think about what I have to go through today, and then I go back to like when my father came out of school and my mother came out of college, and like how they were the first to go and like what they had to go through. And then I go back another generation and think about like what they had to go through. And I just can't get myself riled up when I compare to what other people had to go through.
Mhm.
I feel very blessed and fortunate to have these opportunities. And because of that, I feel a responsibility, and the mantra for Black women on boards is lift as we climb. I feel a responsibility to live that and to do that. And so I don't really focus on the fact that I've been through a lot. I don't focus on that because I can't change that. But what I can do is try to change the future. And what I can do is try to impact that. And so that's where I put my energy. And so organizations like Black Women on Boards have been perfect, like, kind of places for me to channel, like, what I think I could do for somebody else, what I think I can do to help other people. Because we what I will say is, have things gotten better? Yes. When I go back to, like, the start of my career and I think about who I saw in the C-suite, who I saw on board of directors, absolutely, it's gotten better. Are we where we need to be? No, we're not. And I think we have a moment in time that, we're all a part of, to try to really impact that. And so that's where I'm spending my energy and my time. I think back at the beginning of my career and the situations where, like, I've gone in the room and everybody's an attorney and the client comes in the door, and it has absolutely happened where it was like, can you make my coffee type of thing. Has
Yep.
that happened? Yes. Doesn't mean it won't even happen today. I'm not going to say that wouldn't
Yep.
happen, because it could. But I think the difference for me is I'm in a different place in my life and my career to be able, and I feel like, better confidence to
Yep.
address that in a way that it would be handled differently. So that part I'm happy about, in terms of progress. And B, I think that I also feel like I have a tribe of powerful, particularly, like, in Black Women Boards women, but just other people,
Mhm.
allies, etc., that would be very helpful for me in those situations in ways that weren't when I started out my career. So, this is a long way of saying that I'm still really hopeful that there's a lot we can do for this next generation of leaders. I personally put my time in organizations that do that, and I don't feel the burden argument really strongly at
Mhm.
all, because I have to do this. If I don't do my personal part, shame on me. That's how I feel about it.
Same, same. I think everything you've shared is also like how I view it, right? What are ways in which I can impact my organization? What are organizations I can plug into? This book was written because of that, so that
Because of
more
that.
folks, more folks can see people who look like them. So for me, I am immigrant, right? I'm originally from Nigeria, moved here for college, some way, somehow navigated this path for myself, coming into CFO and co-owner of my company. And so it's something that I'm extremely proud of. It's something that I know that you're not just the only, but how can there be more of us? How can people feel more comfortable in whatever paths that they set out for themselves, knowing that it is possible? And so I agree with you that it's just plugging in. And if we don't do it, shame on us.
Yeah.
That literally is it, right?
Shame on you.
So I think for me, the book was written to challenge leaders, right? What are you doing with this position that you're now sitting in? Whether it's one person, whether it's multiple people, you need to be doing something other than just your work to um, make it easier for the next person coming alongside you, or coming behind you. So I agree with that. Okay, so you've recently been listed on Women We Admire Top 50 Women Leaders in Finance in 2022. Congratulations. Congratulations. And you spoke around this, where I'm leading to with this next question. So many young people look up to you as a role model and as a champion. Is there something that you would like? This is your platform now. Is there something you would like to share with them, just to encourage them, inspire them, as they're navigating their paths? And you shared this earlier. So the second part of the question is, what have you learned from the folks who have championed you in your career?
Yeah. Well, what I've learned from, I can take the second part right away. What I've learned from the folks that have championed me, was really all about believing in yourself, being humble, being ready to learn, being ready to give back. They're all like perfect examples of folks who do that. And then, basically, one of the things that one of my supporters talked about was that if you help support um, and promote, etc., other people in your world, she's like, there's no greater joy than like years later to see some of your same words, some of your same suggestions, having them pour that into other people. She's like, that's legacy. Legacy is where, and there's things that she has said that I find myself saying to other people, and I was like, oh, that's that legacy she was talking about. So that's important to me at this stage. I've had several people who've worked for me who have gone on to themselves, like, get amazing positions as VP of Finance, CFOs, etc. And those things are fun for me when I get to see folks that I've kind of mentored, have worked for me, like achieving their goals as well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so around legacy, right? That's one of the chapters in the book that I talk about, right? That the legacy that we're leaving starts now, right? Like legacy is not something that you think about in the future, but it is active things that you're doing every single day that adds up to the legacy that you leave behind. So I'm glad that you talked about that. If you were to talk about or say if let me go back. If we're thinking about Shannon 20 years from now, if we're to look back and say what legacy, this is a legacy that I've left behind, like what would you like to look back and see?
Well, right. One of the things I'm working on right now is getting more people on board of directors, and I'd love to see a legacy where I've helped make an impact in increasing board diversity, because ultimately, it is my belief that the more diversity on boards, companies perform better, but also the more opportunities that will open up for more diverse people in all levels of a company. And so I really do think you have to have that seat at the table. And I'd like to see more people have that seat at the table. So I'd love to look back 20 years from now and know that like a lot of the work that I'm now focused on has helped make that happen.
Wonderful, wonderful, and it will, and that is exactly what is going to happen. It is because you're doing it right now. So I'm excited for 5 years. I don't even want to go out 20. I'm excited for 5 years and the impact and growth that would have happened in the next five. Okay, so I usually love to end these with two fill in the blank sentences. So I'm going to ask you, and it's going to say, Shannon is a bold leader when.
When facing adversity.
Perfect. And Shannon is building boldly when.
Building boldly when she is most creative.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love those. Okay, so do you want to tell us, share with us how we can connect with you and stay in touch after this?
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. That is my I'm at the point now where when I go to events and people are like, "Can I have your business card?" First,
It's
I'm
your
like, "Who
LinkedIn.
carries business cards?" Yes. But you can have my LinkedIn. Here's my QR code. Like, that's all I need. I just need LinkedIn. I don't need all the other contact stuff, because ultimately that is probably what I use the most. LinkedIn also helps find those commonalities that we often need to see, like how many people we're connected with, etc. So my LinkedIn, super easy to find, is the best way to reach out to me.
Perfect. Thank you once again. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Everyone who's
Yes.
listening in the chats, I have to like catch up with the chats after. I try not to look at them so I don't get distracted. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you all on the next talk tomorrow.
Yes, and I want to know, when are you doing your book? When's the next when's the next version of your book?
Ooh,
But
coming
I'm putting it out
soon.
there.
You
I'm
are
putting
putting
it
it
out there.
out there. Coming soon, I hope. All right, guys. So see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.